How you doing, beautiful?
I always wanted to be a bus driver, is what I wanted to be growing up. You know, from kindergarten to, I guess, third grade, I wanted to be a bus driver. I don't know why, that's all I wanted to be. But I started getting involved in plays in my schools, and you know, I loved the audience reaction, which was usually boos, but that just encouraged me more. No, it wasn't boos. I just loved getting up in front of people and making a total jackass out of myself, which I've continued to do over the years.
Who is it?
Well, it all started when I was in high school. My dad didn't want me to date boys, so he only wanted me to play sports, you know, basketball, baseball, tennis, and I always got trophies for everything that I did. And so in an endeavor for him to eschew me from dating, he would push me into, you know, the sports thing. And because I'm not bragging, but because I excelled in sports and had trophies, then that sort of catapulted me into the arena of the first movie, big movie that I did, which was All the Marbles, the wrestling movie. And what they wanted to do with this movie was they had auditioned 2,000 girls across the country, and they were looking for actresses that they could train to wrestle. So I was up in Las Vegas for the Miss Black Velvet beauty pageant, and I didn't get it. It got narrowed down to 2 girls, a Spanish girl and myself, and she deserved it, believe me. But while I was up there, I met a casting director, wonderful lady named Jackie Baskow, who said, they're doing a film in MGM, and you would be perfect for this movie. It's wrestling. And I said, wrestling? Sports related? She said, yeah. And I said, give me the number. So I met with Robert Aldrich, who at the time I thought was Robert Altman. I didn't know who Robert Aldrich was. I didn't know, all I heard was Robert Altman, you know, and his movies. So when I met him, I said, and I was very innocent, I was like 21 years old, I said, Mr. Altman, it's a great pleasure to meet you. And he looked at me and he said, my name isn't Robert Altman, my name is Robert Aldrich. And I said, who's that? And he looked at me like, oh God, we got a moron on our hands here. Anyway, he told me the story that I just disclosed to you, and he said, we've seen all these women, including Kathleen Turner. And we've narrowed it down now to 12. They put 12 of us, they screen tested 12 of us. And I got a call that night from David Beagleman, the head of the studio, and he said, you did an incredible job. And we've narrowed it down now to 4. 4 of you are going to wrestling school. Well, I know that was going to be a piece of cake because, you know, it was athletic oriented. So it was much more arduous than I had any idea. And then we all came back to the studio. We had to wrestle for the studio executives. Everybody at the head of the studio was there, and the vice president, everybody was there. And so we did our wrestling scenes and so forth, and I got called in, and Robert Aldrich was staring out the window. The great Robert Aldrich, who did Hustle, Longest Yard, Dirty Dozen, I mean, the list goes on. He's one of the 10 greatest directors in the history of film. And he said, he's looking out the window, and he never looked at me. He said, you did a great job, you did a really great job. I'm just listening, but he wouldn't look at me, and he said, you did a great job, but... And I burst out crying, and I said, but you don't want me in your movie. And he turned around, he looks at me, and he said, yes, I do want you in my movie. You're in the movie. And I screamed, I'm such a moron. I screamed at the top of my lungs, why would you want me in your movie? You know, I was a kid. I didn't know what I was saying. So I got that role, and you know, I'm very proud of the work I did in that film, albeit I was very young. And you know, John Cassavetes came to the set one day, and we were talking, and he was a great friend of Peter Fox, and we were talking and making jokes, and he says, "You are 2 frames out of sync. You are out of your mind." He said, "I just think you're wonderful." So I'm really, really proud of that movie. Well, I had known Larry for a long time, and he asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, let me see the script first, and I read the script, and I liked it.
Look who just walked in. Jack Forrest, girlfriend.
What made me want to do it more than anything was the fact that he put the name Teresa Mallory in it, and Teresa was the name of my mother, who had passed away. So that's what really interested me in doing the movie, to be honest with you. I mean, I thought that was a very magnanimous gesture that he would make that effort to do that.
Let him go, Cordell!
Therese, get these cuffs off.
Yes, I felt she was a very strong character. Not as tough maybe or as determined as the character I played in Hundra. You know, because I was the star of the film, I guess, and I was overcompensating maybe at the time because I was a female, and because, you know, it was the dawn of women's civilization at the time, and I had to be very, very strong and aggressive and fearless. And I played that somewhat in Maniac Cop, but I wanted to show another side of her character as well, a sentimental side and a feminine side, if you will. You know, it was a contradiction, so to speak. So.
I gotta get you out of this building. Come on.
Well, what about you? If they see you with that gun, you're gonna get shot!
Don't worry about me.
Oh yeah, I had a big crush on him. Oh yeah, I had a mad crush on Bruce because he was so funny. You know, he was off the planet and off the charts, and I really enjoyed, you know, we had a great rapport together, and he was always playing tricks on the cast, and, you know, very sardonic. He was a wiseacre like I am, but because I had a bit of a crush on him, I was always a little bit reticent and a little bit shy until later on during the production, 3/4 of the way through. I got a little closer to him, but not that close ever, unfortunately. But anyway, after he got divorced, he called me, and we had dinner one time, but I wasn't interested in him after that. I don't know why. I mean, on that level, on a physical level. And he was much more serious then, too, about his career and about life. So I still think he's an incredible actor. He's done some pretty amazing movies.
His hands were so big, and they felt like ice, even through his gloves. He wasn't breathing.
Well, we won't put that in our report, huh?
I had very few scenes with Tom. He was a really nice guy, great sense of humor, but I can't really elaborate about any kind of friendship that I had with him because he was very focused, you know, and like Peter Falk was in All the Marbles, you know, he was very, very focused.
She always had the latest jokes, nice sense of humor. I always told her she ought to audition for one of those comedy joints.
Bill Lustig was very focused. He was not like other directors that I worked with. He was very serious, very focused, as I mentioned, and he wanted to get it perfect, and time was of the essence, obviously. It was a low-budget movie, but He was a very, very nice guy. I'm not saying this to be politically correct or, you know, because he might see this. Actually, I hate you. But no, he was a very, very nice guy. Knew exactly what he wanted. Didn't play games, and I was always wanting to play games and goofing off because that's just my nature, so.
Hurry up, you're wasting time! The killer's in that paddy wagon! Come on, let's go!
The first one I survived, the second one he killed me off. But in the script, I just had taken a chainsaw to the Maniac cop, Robert Zadar, and he broke my neck, but I survived. I was supposed to be in the third script, but Bill and I had a few words, you know. I made a few teasing comments to him in the movie because he teased me back, you know, because I was a wild child, and I probably said a few things to him that I shouldn't have said, and I won't say what they were, but he wasn't happy about it, so he made damn sure that I was cut out of that last movie. Oh, it got an incredible reaction, and I think it did very well. The first one in particular. The second one I don't think did that well, but I know to this day it's one of the horror movies that, you know, is on the top 20 list of the great horror movies, you know, in the last 20 years. You know, people love Maniac Cop. Everywhere I go, people recognize me from All the Marbles, Hundra, and Maniac Cop. And I can't believe they still recognize me. And people say, you look exactly the same except you're thinner. And I cannot believe people recognize me and ask for my autograph still to this day. And they can't be joking because they say my name, right? So.
Now, why don't you run along home to your wife and kids like a good little boy?
Yeah, it's just what I was gonna do. But I'll be thinking of you, baby.
Can't arrest you for that.
Ciao, baby.